So I've said it before that I'm a big fan of basically absurdism and the idea of the absurd because I truly believe that I just did a big rant on it that we live in basically a world that is entirely chaos and everything's absurd and nothing makes sense, and the real question is what the hell is going on. And it really is quite crazy. um but I watched I watched this video recently, the on entropy by Veritasium, and he I think it was like literally basically at the end of the video where he drops like milk into a coffee, and then you see how like the random kind of mixing pattern where the colors are blending of the milk and the coffee, and then and then over time, it becomes one color once again, and they're completely mixed back into this, like, instead of the coffee being a dark brown and the milk being white, it balances out to this lighter brown color. And I mean, if you've ever made coffee, ideally you know what I'm talking about here. um but he kind of relates that in between state, because they talk about entropy eventually is the kind of balancing out of energy. Eventually, it's called like the heat death of the universe, or something, where everything is completely equally spread out across the universe. Like energy is completely even across the universe. There's no hot and cold spots. It's just everything is the same temperature. Um, and that is the end of the universe. That in From our understanding, that is like crazy long time from now, but that is how we believe the universe dies. Is basically in this complete evenness. I'm going to this way too much for what I wanted to talk about, but basically that's what the video was about, and it was really good. But um, uh, I really like tying this kind of blending of colors. He said that in between state, that's where we are. That's us. You know, and I loved this comparison because I really like recently I've been doing kind of like blending like with my paintings for like colors and stuff, and I love the look of like kind of this randomness, like blending of colors where um there's some order to what's going on there, but it's not perfectly even. It's not all one color. You kind of got this blending going on, and I've been really enjoying painting like this. And um just having these random bits of color that you didn't necessarily mean to have there, but they just seem to work. um is just really enjoyable to do. And if you don't like it, then you just add a little bit of more color in there and blend it until it's at a point where you like those colors. um and I've just been having a lot of fun kind of painting like this and kind of experimenting with it and seeing what I can do. And I think a part of it is I just love the kind of chaos that's involved with it. Very rarely I won't say very rarely, but I for a long time I didn't really base my drawings or like my paintings off of anything. I just kind of start painting, and then as I'm painting I decide what it's going to be. And I find that to be a very enjoyable way to paint, because you know you just kind of see what unfolds, and you just um you don't necessarily just throw paint around until you say, okay, that's enough paint on the page. Like, you throw paint down, and then you say, oh, I'm seeing this in this right here. And then you direct it in the way you want it to go. You add the paint where you want it to be, and you do different colors where you need it to be, and eventually you have something that looks like an image. And you decide that's it. That's good enough. And this kind of more chaotic um painting style that I've come to enjoy is how I feel that the universe really is. And I really liked, this comparison to us being basically this chaos and this in between state between blended and unblended colors, because we really are living in, chaos. It that's just what we do. And uh you know having that kind of comparison there of us being this, like, you know basically being the paint that's being randomly thrown about until someone decides, or something decides, okay, that's good. I think that's an interesting thought, to be like, if I'm the painter and I'm, painting, and we're just kind of going to see what happens, by throwing in these colors, and, ooh, I really liked how that looks. Yeah, we're going to keep that. What if that's literally just how the universe has been built over time? Like, we had, atoms, and we're like, oh yeah, that's good. That's good. We'll keep that. And then, the atoms became proteins, and then the proteins became uh, cells or whatever. I'm not super knowledgeable on it, but somehow we got to like cells, and we're like, oh, wow, like living life. Wow, that's interesting. Let's keep that. Let's keep that. And we've just been kind of slowly evolving this beautiful artwork into some kind of masterpiece, and we haven't gotten to that point where we say, okay, that's good enough. But there's just so many things that we're like, oh, I really like how that looks. I really like how that's come out. Let's keep that. Let's keep that. You know, and now we're at this point where we have, we're not just like single cell organisms. We've got multicellular organisms, and now we're starting to develop, artificial intelligence, which is like a whole nother level, I guess, above what, which is basically a new type of life, that we're creating in this like digital world. And we're just slowly evolving um the work of art into, this masterpiece. Um and I don't know, the idea of that, just I really like that kind of imagery, and seeing everything that's unfolded as like, a masterpiece. And when you're painting, sometimes you make mistakes and things get messed up. um but it's all a part of the painting process in the end. And sometimes things happen, it's like, oh, I messed up, but then you will go like, oh, actually, no, that's actually pretty good, let's keep that. you know and making mistakes, sometimes, you work the mistakes into the art, and it becomes better for it. And I really like that imagery, and kind of seeing the world in that way. So I wanted to talk on that a little bit. So yeah, peace out.